Hello and welcome to episode 1434 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Thursday, July 17th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined today by both Justin and Joe. I almost said Justin and Jason. I'm just going to own it. I'm going to own it, Joe. I almost called you the wrong name. How you guys doing during this All-Star break here? You can tell I'm still on break right now. What's going on, guys?
Look, you've known Jason a lot longer than I have, and he's been on the show a lot longer than I have. So you get a pass. It's the first time you've done that, and I've been on the show.
Can I get a friend
months, so.
without a J name?
Yeah.
My girlfriend has a J name, for God's sakes. I'm going to start
I think
calling
we
my
just
dog
need to.
Charlotte.
We're going to change Paul's name to Joel.
Joel. Yeah. Joel reporting live.
Clearly just some rust from the layoff over spring training.
Absolutely.
Wow, spring training. Wow.
See,
Holy shit,
You're rusty too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Justin and I have chosen to actually take a break. We've
Yes.
enjoyed the All-Star break. We didn't do our chats this week. We haven't been doing anything. Like, we don't always, by the way. That's the only reason I'm pointing it out. And I'm not saying like we're heroes or anything. Well, you usually go camping, don't you?
I do something
around there sometimes.
But
yeah, I don't always. A lot of times I'm still like, well, I can do some work while other people aren't, and I can get ahead. It's like, no, relax for a minute. So I've enjoyed it. It's been nice, but we're back. The grind really kicks back in tonight when the SP chart comes back for the second half, but it's been nice. And I enjoyed All-Star Week. I thought it was fun. The draft, the derby, the game, none of which I'm like, I have to see or else, but I enjoy all of it. Futures game, I hate that it's 7 innings. I think that's the stupidest thing ever, but at least it's on and it's on Saturdays and it's fun. So I like All-Star Week. Go ahead, Justin.
Can I just because I for years have talked about this on the pod, I don't watch the All-Star Week, right? Like, I don't watch the Home Run Derby. I don't watch the All-Star Game. I just happened to tune into the All-Star Game. I watched bits and pieces of the Home Run Derby this year because I wasn't camping. I was actually just home. But it is what it is. It's fun, but I don't really care that much about it. I just don't want anybody to get hurt. But I tuned into the last few innings of the All-Star Game, and man, am I glad I did, because that freaking swing off
was awesome.
Was awesome. It was,
and
so
I didn't
cool.
know about it.
I didn't either.
Nobody did.
I'm I'm not dialed in. Obviously, I'm pretty dialed into things. I did not know, and it was great that I didn't. I loved that it was a surprise. I was like, they're doing swing off. People talk about this all the time. Settle a game with a home run derby, and they did it. And dude, how ice cold is Schwarber? You just knew he was going to pop off. And if he had somehow fallen short, or if Aranda had hit 3, Pete was going to come and do the same.
There was someone on Twitter that posted a winning ticket of Alonso winning the All-Star MVP.
Oh my God, that sucks because he had it.
He had
literally.
If Schwarber doesn't hit 3 home runs,
it's his all day.
It was something like $150 to win $8,000 or something like that.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, it wasn't yours till the game was over, right? That's not how it works. I do understand the frustration though, because he was the only candidate until the very end.
Yeah.
Right. It was just so obviously Pete, and then everything exploded there. I'm sure that person with that ticket hates some particular pitchers in the National League that let the American League get back into it. But we are going to talk pitchers today. I've got an SP ranking that if you come to my chats, I've been promising for about 12 months now. I'm like, oh, it's coming next week. It's coming next week. I finally got them done. They will be out probably when you hear this, unless you hear it very early on Thursday. They might be out Friday morning. But either way, Joe and Justin have access to them. Going to turn the show over to Justin to drive us through the names that you guys want to discuss, because I did a 1 to 150 here. It's not all 5 guys from all 30 teams, because obviously I don't really need to rank any of the Colorado guys. I think I did put Gomber and Dolander on there down at the bottom somewhere, but obviously I don't need to rank all 5 of their guys. We don't need to rank all 5 of the White Sox. So we do get to 150, but that's with some teams getting a few extras. We're going to focus on a bunch of guys, so I'll turn it over to you, Justin.
Yeah, so let's we're just going to go kind of in order of where you have them ranked, the guys we want to talk about. I don't think there's much reason, and clearly Joe didn't think there was much reason to talk about your top 6. So I'll just name them off real quick. Skubal at 1, Skeens at 2, Wheeler at 3, Crochet at 4, Hunter Brown at 5, and Yamamoto at 6. I don't think anybody has any reason to, you may have one guy higher than another, but those are all studs. There's
Those are
no
the
reason.
dudes, yeah.
Those are all the dudes. But 7 is where we have our first kind of discussion point. And I almost marked him down, but I had marked down so many other guys that I was like, I guess we can skip over Jacob deGrom, who's having an amazing year in Texas. But Joe marked it down as a guy he wanted to. So, Joe, why do you want to talk about Jacob deGrom being 7th on Paul's sheet?
Well, I will take any chance I can to talk about Jacob deGrom. I absolutely love him, and he's having a great year. And I kind of called it, so I'm going to own that. But I also want to discuss it because I can't really own it yet because we're only halfway through, a little bit more than halfway through the season. I think it warrants a discussion point of what do we think is going to happen with deGrom over the final 10 to 12 starts of the season? Is he going to be able to maintain his current pace? And he's been not quite prime Jacob deGrom in terms of the strikeouts.
But still excellent.
But still, arguably, a top 5 pitcher. You have him at 7. I think you could arguably put him into that first group with Yamamoto and Brown there. Like, I think you could potentially jump him up. But I'm curious what you guys think. Do you expect deGrom to be able to maintain this pace and finish out at 100? And, if you look at our projections, they have another 65-ish innings on top of this. So do you think he'll be able to get to 170, 180 innings while maintaining these ratios? Because if he does, he could potentially come away with a Cy Young. Like, I think that is in the realm of possibility here.
Right. I think if deGrom's upright, he's a god. And it really obviously comes down to staying upright. Now, I cannot predict whether or not he's going to stay healthy. I do not know. However, I will actually push back on one thing you said earlier as a way of praising you. You said you can't take your win yet. I actually think you can. He already got 100 innings. I don't know, like, how could he fail at this point? You got 112 innings of a 2.32 ERA, 0.91 ERA. But even if he's done for the rest of the year, everyone who drafted him said, I'll take 100 deGrom innings. You got 112, even with the high price point. Yes.
You wanted 100 innings of peak deGrom, which he hasn't been. He's been amazing.
2.32 ERA, 0.91. It's not that far from.
The strikeouts are
that's fine. He got 9 wins. He's 5th on the player rater.
That's crazy to me.
He's 5th on the player rater. So
got
the K's.
He's got 9 of like Texas 13 wins.
On that dog shit too.
I know. It's funny, right? He goes to the team that's on one of the worst he's played for, and that's when he starts piling up wins when he couldn't buy one with the Mets. But no, I am of the mind that like he's already paid off. Yeah, the Ks are a little bit lighter. It's only like 1 per inning, almost literally 113 and 112 innings for deGrom. But I don't really think that he could be a bust at any point this year now, short of like a couple Bailey Ober starts on your record, 7, 8 earned before going on the IL. But other than that, like even if he didn't pitch another inning, I don't really think it's a loss.
I think he needs to get to like 140 and then he's paid off. But that's literally like 28 innings away. Like he's right there. It's like 4 or 5 starts and he's there. So I agree. I almost wonder like part of me was like, is this kind of fence sitting by Paul? Because like if you're gonna put him this high, you're saying he's probably healthy, and then shouldn't he be higher? But no. I think with the lowered strikeout totals this year, I think you comfortably put him.
And he's older than everyone except for Wheeler ahead of him. Mm-hmm. I guess they're the same age or close. He actually might be older, but he's like substantially older than the rest. So there is that risk with deGrom, with Skubal, Skeens, Wheeler, Crochet, Brown, Yamamoto, the guys ahead of him. So like, and they all have better team context except for Skeens, who's on Pittsburgh, of course. But then his Ks make up for that with the great ratios. So like, no, I think 7 is still pretty firm here. Again, I don't know if he's going to get hurt. No one does. You probably would be smart to believe that he's going to, or prepare for that if you have deGrom, and you should still be aggressively seeking starters on the wire. But other than that, I have no issues with how he's been pitching.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if he is any less safe than anybody above him outside of maybe like Skubal and Skeens, right? Like Wheeler's old, Crochet, we've had, concerns, though minor concerns about how his health is going to hold up. I think Hunter Brown is like the only guy like I'm outside of the top 2 that I'm not really afraid of all about.
That's only because he hasn't been hurt.
Yeah, he hasn't been hurt.
Because there's no reason not to be afraid, right? He's pitching. He's a pitcher. So you should be afraid of every single one.
Yeah, Yamamoto missed a lot of time last year.
Right.
Like, I'm fine with this rank. I think this is perfect. It's kind of perfect spot for him personally.
So yeah, I feel great with him, with Jacob deGrom. So again, always be planning for contingencies. You should stay diligent about having starter depth if you're riding deGrom as your ace, but really anywhere. And I'm not saying obviously spend all your money on it. Like if you've got great pitching, you don't go out and buy Bubba Chandler and Jacob Mizrowski and buy all the guys, but try to get some supplements just in case the second half, some of these older guys start to break down. Younger guys can break down too, though. So I love deGrom, and I'm happy to have been pretty hot on him coming into the year.
So with some concern, like we all know that we can't really predict anything, but the fact that he's been healthy for this long leads you to believe that there could be something that comes along in the second half, just because there's always something. Pitchers tend to get hurt all the time.
Yeah, because he's 38, 39.
37, I think.
37? Yeah, he's 37. He's still, deGrom still throws pretty hard. He's purposely dialed it down as a way of trying to preserve himself, which I know people probably roll their eyes out at initially, but it's working too. He's at 97.4. He was at 97.3 last year. That's a far cry from his 99. Usually 2 miles drop, you panic, but deGrom actually showed that he could downshift. He still has a 26% K rate, which is not amazing, but it's certainly not bad. 14% swinging strike. Like he still misses bats. He doesn't walk guys. Like he is still awesome. Is he peak deGrom? No, but is he like a step shy of it? I think so. I just love what he's doing.
I love that he is like purposely taking it down a notch so he can preserve his body. I think this
especially for this team. Don't waste all your energy with this team.
Is there any chance he gets traded?
That's what I was going to ask you guys. That.
I think there's some chance. I just think it's a lot of money for teams. That's like I think he's owed 35 to 40 million for the next couple of years, and
37.
And while you're relatively confident in him for this year, I don't know how confident I am for another couple of seasons with.
I think the Rangers would have to eat some money.
They would probably have to, yeah. I'm just wondering from a fantasy point of view, would you try and quote unquote sell high on him if you're in a trade league and just try and dodge any potential second half injury risks? So you can pretty much write your own ticket if you're trading him to somebody who needs pitching right now. Would you try and get
if you've got great pitching? Yeah, like if you hit on 3-4 guys.
I'm literally trying to trade him in Tout Wars right now.
And what are you looking to get for deGrom?
So I've been in discussions with two people. One who's ahead of me in the standings, who I'd rather not trade with, in Brett Sayre. But we were discussing a Brent Rooker trade, because I need power.
Mixed, AL only.
Mixed. So I need power desperately and on base percentage desperately, and he needs starting pitching. My starting pitching is unreal good. Like deGrom's like maybe like my third or fourth best pitcher.
Jesus.
It's like I literally in this league the week before or about a week ago I traded Skubal for Soto. So like I'm just trying to trade pitching right now because I'm killing all the pitching categories. So but I think that's what I'd be looking for. I'm looking for a top 50 player that's a hitter, and hoping I can land on it. And I'll throw in I've been talking to Alex Chamberlain about Acuna, and but to sweeten the deal, I'm like willing to throw in Fab, and that may be something that gets done. I think you also have to have a little bit of concern that in a trade conversation that everybody's going to be thinking the same thing you are, which
everyone knows, right?
Yeah,
like you're not going to swindle somebody.
Yeah, there's a chance that he gets hurt again and doesn't pitch very much rest of the way. But yeah, I do think you should be aiming top 50 player.
Yep. If you can't get it, you just ride it out with deGrom. Like if somebody won't give you some, because yes, you know the risk. And again, don't be dodgy and shiesty in trades and pretend like you don't see the deGrom risk. And that's why I hate trade. I'd rather someone just be straight up. Yeah, I'm trying to get out because yes, he's been great. Do you want to take the chance? I'm asking for this. And if they say no, cool. Because it's not like Acuna is some, ironclad, guaranteed to play guy himself. So that would be a good risk for risk trade there. That if the needs met up, I wouldn't bash either of y'all for doing that trade. That's a really good one.
It may get done later today. That is the hope, is that gets done by the time anybody listens to this. So.
I think that's a really good 1-to-1 there with similar risk profiles with deGrom and Acuna. So great talk there on deGrom, and I hope he continues to have success for you, Joe, because I know you got a lot of shares. Let's go to Seattle, Justin. We got a lot of Seattle to talk about. You guys both labeled one guy, and then you labeled the second guy.
Yeah, and we can just kind of push these guys together because I wanted to discuss both of them, and Joe wanted to discuss Logan Gilbert too, but probably for the same reason. And it is, you have Logan Gilbert at 10 and Brian Wu at 12. And honestly, we can just throw in George Kirby at 13.
Right there at 13, yep.
Since they're all there kind of together. And I wanted to discuss these guys because while I love their talents, the injury risk on them just scares the crap out of me. And this is a situation where we're looking at, hey, there was a UCL injury on Gilbert earlier on in the season. Brian Wu has been a god when he's been on the mound pretty much his entire major league career.
Right. He's been unbelievable, dude.
But he is currently 6.6 or 6.2 innings away from his career high in the major leagues. And he always seemingly gets hurt in August. And August is right around the corner.
Dog days coming up.
So are we worried about that at all in putting them this high? Or is this another DeGrom situation? Like, anybody can get hurt. Yes, these guys maybe have a slightly higher risk profile because they've been hurt recently. But I can't really worry about it. You just got to hope it doesn't strike them down.
I think that nails it right there. I don't mean to cut you off there, but I'll just carry on what you're saying. I think that nails it right there. It is not actionable concern with these Seattle Mariners. What are you going to do? Like, maybe you can try to trade them. And again, similar situation where whoever you're trading with is going to be interested, but also knowing that they're bringing on some risk. Okay, they have to decide, is that worth it to them? But I do think that I'm just going to rank the talent here. And if something happens with these Seattle pitchers, any of the three, Gilbert, Wu, or Kirby, who I have, again, 10, 12, and 13 with Joe Ryan squeezed in between them. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to take lesser talent than them for perceived safety. That, like, this is not how I'm going to operate. And I don't believe all that much in safe pitchers any more than I believe in inherently risky pitchers being somebody that you should run from if they have the talent. Right. Again, I believe there are some degrees. Is DeGrom more risky than kind of your run-of-the-mill guy who hasn't had his injury history and isn't 37? Of course he is. But still going to take his talent. For example, like, let's say like an Andrew Abbott, a young lefty. Who's
we're going to talk about Andrew.
We are going to talk about him. I shouldn't have said him because we're going to talk. But like Mackenzie Gore sitting at 21 there, Is DeGrom riskier than him from a health profile? Absolutely. But give me the way more talented guy. And that's actually no shade on Gore, who I've got, again, at 21. So, yeah, with these Mariners, they're just the best rotation again this year, I think, top to bottom, when they're healthy. All three of them are back, ready to go. Kirby dialed in after a few rough starts. I never wanted to jump off of him from those first few. I was going to give him 5, 6, 7 starts at a minimum after waiting on Kirby. And I think he's all the way back. I know he's a little bumpy in his last one before the break, but my Tigers got him, best team in the universe. You know how it goes. But yeah, I like all three of them. I got no issues with any Mariner pitcher right now, and Gilbert especially being the number one guy of that trio.
So I worry a little bit about Gilbert, to be perfectly honest. When I redid my pitching rankings 3 weeks ago, I put Gilbert in the exact same spot at 10, but I think I'm going to have to lower him just a little bit. And again, there's nothing, like you said, you're not dropping him or anything. If you're trading him is not really viable because you're not probably going to get top value for him. But
I will say, just before you finish your point, I will say these discussions are still useful for like DFS and stuff like that, like the day-to-day that people, so even though maybe in fantasy you can't do anything with Logan Gilbert except just start him every time blindly, of course, maybe you don't pick him as often in DFS if you agree with Joe's concerns. So pick up from there with Gilbert.
So in the 6 starts since he's come back, he has a 4.40 ERA with a 3.73 FIP. He's allowed a 15% barrel rate. He has a 1.30 WHIP. He doesn't seem like he's fully right. The strikeouts have been phenomenal. 33% strikeout rate. If you look at every game, it's 9 strikeouts, 10, 6, 7. Like there's always good strikeouts coming along with it. But he's been walking some batters, 2, 2, and 3 in each of his last 3 starts. He's getting hit pretty hard. I just worry that he's not fully 100% healthy. So I think
he's kind of ironing it out. Like I don't necessarily disagree that there's been some, especially I tell you the one thing that you didn't necessarily hit on yet. No more than 5 2/3, 5 1/3 in any of these 6, and only once at 6+ this year, and it was opening day, 7 innings against the Athletics.
He's
Yeah.
no longer the horse.
That is the concern. And that is something that I have a little bit of an issue about, because we looked at Logan Gilbert as your workhorse there. I do wonder if maybe he gets turned loose a little bit in the second half, as A, they're fighting for playoffs. B, he only has 61 innings on his arm, and they can maybe turn that dial a little bit because they haven't used him a ton. And maybe in the dog days, they dial it up. So, yeah, I do understand that. And I was mindful of that ranking him. Could maybe move him down a little, but I still just really trust. And those Ks are what kept me staying there, Joe, because I saw the same 6 that you're talking about since the IL being a little un-Gilbert-y, but 44 Ks and 30 2/3. I was like, okay, he's at least still missing bats. He is dominating guys. I think he's ironing some things out since the IL. And I do wonder if maybe the 6+ inning starts come back in the second half. Now, I didn't rank him based on that. That would be a cherry on top. But even a five and dive Gilbert with this kind of K rate works for me.
Yeah, that's totally fair. No issues. I think I'd probably have him around closer to 15, but at that point, it's kind of nitpicking.
Sure, and we're always nitpicking at the top end here.
Yeah,
we're not going to nitpick the rest of the top 20. That is pretty well set. I'll name them off real quick. We mentioned you have Logan Gilbert at 10, Joe Ryan at 11, Wu and Kirby were 12 and 13 respectively. Framber Valdez at 14, Logan Webb at 15, Robbie Ray at 16. Then you have Freddie Peralta, Nick Pivetta, Christopher Sanchez, Nathan Eovaldi wrapping up the top 20. I want to jump to number 23, who both Joe and I wanted to discuss, and that's Chris Bubic. Who has been unreal good this year. 108 2/3 innings, 2.48 ERA, 18% K minus BB. I worry about what we're going to see from the second half in Bubic, because he's a guy who has never pitched a plethora of innings in a single season at the major leagues. Joe, was that your concern about him being this high?
Yeah, the innings definitely come into play, and it also does seem like he's kind of fading a little bit. If you look over the last month, he has a 4.86 ERA. The walks have been kind of not a huge concern, but they're worse than they were earlier in the seasons. The strikeout rate's only 23%. The whip over his last 6 starts is 153. Now, he is getting BABIP'd a little bit at 367, but I worry that as we do approach his innings limit for the year, which I'm not sure exactly what that is, that he is starting to fade, and we're not going to see that guy who earlier in the year was looking like a top 10, top 15 starting pitcher. I ranked him kind of similarly to this. I think I have him. I had him at 22 in my previous update, which is from 3 weeks ago, which will need to be tinkered with. But what we've seen over the last couple of weeks is pretty concerning, and I just worry with Kansas City being pretty non-competitive this year. Are they really going to stretch him into the end of September when a lot of people are in head-to-head leagues? And what are they going to get out of Chris Bubic for those last couple starts in their playoffs? And that's what I kind of worry about.
Only thing I would say on that is these rankings have no bearing on September. Too much is going to change, so please do not use these rankings for much more than the next 3 to 6 weeks. Yeah, it's in fact in this case specifically, these ones might only have a 2-week expiration date depending on how lively the trade deadline is. In which case, I'll do another update in early August. But if we don't get that much action, maybe I'll save the update a little bit.
And the trade deadline could have a huge impact on Chris Bubic himself, right?
Exactly. He could be headed elsewhere if they don't find themselves,
right now,
in a reasonable contention.
Has the Royals as 11% to make the playoffs.
They're 4.5 back. They're 3 under 500 right now. And I always mention this: 4.5 back on its face is fine. It's the number of teams ahead of them. There are 4 teams ahead of them. So after a while, you start to need other teams to fail in front of you. The Tigers got lucky with that, with Minnesota collapsing. I don't know that KC is going to get 2, 3, 4 teams in front of them to fall back. So yeah, Bubic could get traded. And I do wonder if they should really consider that, right? On the one hand, you're like, hey, we landed on something. This was a former top prospect that we had that we've been kind of waiting on. They waited through the big TJ, and boom, he finally did it. But he is going to be 28 next year. He only has next year after this. He's a free agent for 27. You could get a freaking mint.
And it's going to be his first year of ARB. So you gotta pay him more.
So I think you can really, like, I'm not the type of guy that's like, trade Skeens for the Pirates. I think they need to go the other way. Build around Skeens and accelerate your window. Bubic is a bit different. He's not an unquestionable, top of the scale ace. He's a damn good pitcher, though. He's going to be 28. I think they should trade him. But let's say they don't, okay? Here's the thing. I saw the same run that you did, Joe. Obviously, I was digging into the game logs. For me, I thought it was more scheduled than it was rundown. Yankees cooked him. Okay, that's the Yankees. And even though it was in KC, they're still the Yankees. Texas was mediocre, but they're not good. So I don't expect them to struggle there. And thankfully, he bounced back. Tampa Bay, he actually got in the midst of their heater, and he handled them. He scattered 8 hits over 6 innings, did give up 4 runs, but only 2 were earned, 8 punchies, no walks. Then the Dodgers got him on a 5 and dive, but he held his own. And then at Arizona, again, 7 innings, 3 runs. The hits were there. You talked about how he was getting Babbitt, and Bubic has had to work around a bunch of hits. These are good teams piling up hits, except for Texas. That was just 9 hits and 5 1/3. I can't really explain that. But I thought he navigated this schedule pretty well. And even though the numbers are a little bit up, you take that Arizona start. You don't love starting him at Arizona, Chris Bubic. You don't love starting anybody there. But he gave you 7 innings, 3 runs. And even though there was 10 base runners, okay. The Pittsburgh one, did you want more than 5 2/3, 3 runs? Sure. You didn't even get a baseline quality start from Bubic there, but you got the 6 punchies. And so it's similar to Gilbert. And I'm not saying he's at Gilbert's level, but the similar thing here with this run is that even though there were some sketchy results, those strikeouts kept me coming back, paired with the fact that it was a difficult schedule, made me think I could give him some leeway before I declare that Bubic is wearing down. I thought it was more difficult opponents. Now, the first few starts out of the second half will be a good indicator of like where he's at volume wise and stamina wise.
He has a dream schedule to start the second half.
So golden.
At Miami and then home versus the Guardians. So I think this is a really good litmus test of like if he gets cooked in these 2
if he gets hit here, I'm going to be right on your train, Joe, of like, okay, maybe he is wearing down. But if he dominates these 2, then I'm going to think that last run there with Chris Bubic was more schedule related and that he can dial in for the second half. And
if we got 3 series, we've got Miami, he doesn't pitch against the Cubs, and then he gets Cleveland. Let's say the Royals, in 9 games go 3-6. They're sellers, and he could end up on a better team.
That'd be so
in the second
great.
half. So I think this is going to be a really interesting, kind of 10 days to watch coming out of the break for Chris Bubic. Next guy on the docket, we're going to go away from a guy who took a while to get going to a guy who just hit the ground running. And that's Jacob Misiorowski of the Milwaukee Brewers. You have him at number 26.
I do.
And I wonder, and Joe wanted to talk about this one as well, but I'm going to first ask the question, is this too low?
That's fair. I mean, that is like very fair because I think I am lower than what I've been hearing some other people talk about on different pods or shows when they say they have them ranked inside the top 20. So I want to be on the rocket ship, right? Because you just don't know where it's going to go. Is this the next Skeens already, or the Skeens type that's just going to be a god right away, or some of that command issue going to creep up in the second half and he's going to, be okay. I think you just got to be there for it. So I thought 26 baked in enough of like, okay, I have a little bit of concern. I'm not ranking him 12th, but I'm also not going to like crap on anybody who does. Because again, I play narrow windows. If you think for the next 5 to 6 weeks that Jacob Misiorowski is the 12th ranked guy, I can see that. So I understand those who are afraid of rookies because they are volatile and they are scary, but I have a hard time being scared of this guy unless I was facing him in the box. He's just so unbelievable. I understand he's got some command issues, but how can you not just love everything Jacob Misiorowski is doing? So you might be right. 26 might actually be too low, which is not where I thought you were going to go. Some nice little inversion honestly, there.
I think he's a top 20 pitcher. That's the way the Brewers need him in this rotation. I don't think
that's the thing. They can't baby him. I don't think.
And because they're not going to go out and trade for anybody, right? Like they're not
they'll get some like supplemental garbage. They're not going to get
they're going to go pick up
Nestor's going to be back pretty soon.
Nestor's coming back off of what's been a good rehab, so hopefully he helps. They'll get another Savali type.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's it.
Seeing like, oh man, wonder
if they bring him right back after the Andrew Vaughn.
That'd be so hilarious. Fun. But
Ronald Blanc, or not what's his name? Logan Henderson too. Like, what about him?
Yeah, honestly, he should be their answer. But they just got B Woody back, so they might not actually get that many arms. They could actually have a really good rotation.
I think they're going to probably try to strengthen that offense. Or maybe
I think that's way more fair that they should be doing that. But yeah. I think it's a really fair question that maybe Misiorowski should be higher because, again, we're riding the rocket ship. Is he worse than his teammate Freddie Peralta or Nick Pivetta or Christopher Sanchez?
I think you have to make the argument of like, is the risk of Mizorowski in terms of him being able to command and control his stuff greater than the people above him who have injury risk, right? Because like, what's more likely, Mizorowski being able to, keep things in check for himself, or guys like Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu, George Curry staying healthy? Because I think that's the argument.
Or the guys right in front of him, like Kodai Senga, Shota
Mm-hmm.
Imanaga, both who've been hurt. They're 24 and 25. Like, they're
awesome. I love Imanaga, but like I would take him above Imanaga. I'd take him above Senga. I'd take him above Bubic. I'd take him above Gray. I'd take him above Gore. I think I'm taking him.
I think I might be sold, man.
I think I'd take him above Eovaldi and Pivetta. I think
that's exactly.
Oh, come on!
With their injury risk history, I think I am.
I was gonna go right there. I was gonna put him right at 20.
So what about Chris Sanchez? Was that the line for you then?
Sanchez for me is high.
I kept him below Sanchez.
I think Sanchez is higher for me, but
even though Miz has better skills right now, it's 25 innings versus 115.
Yeah.
I don't know with this guy. Like, I really worry about the command. Like, if you just look back over the years, guys who walk this many batters generally don't have success. Like, there are the Blake Snells and the Dylan Ceases of the world, but it's really, really hard to be successful with the 11.
Who throws 100 though with the 34% K rate when they're doing it? Usually just relievers. So first off, there's not a lot of comps for Mizorowski. So I'm not even like roasting you on that. I'm just saying he is a bit of a unicorn to this end where he's almost a reliever who starts. Because he's popping a hundo, again, 34% K. Yes, it's an 11% walk, which I do have concerns with. And don't sleep on the 1.4 homer nine. Now, that's partly due to the fact that he only has 5 starts, and a couple homers can really do that. But if he does find himself hittable in the zone where the homers can be there, then it's those 3-run crushers because there's 2 guys on that he walked. So I do need to kind of see where he's at with the homers for Mizorowski, but I just can't deny the overwhelming talent, and it's hard not to want to be on board with this. But I hear your concerns, Joe. So I see both your sides. One saying bring him down, one saying push him up. It's really tough.
Can't we just obviously a different type of pitcher, right? But like a statistical comp in terms of the walks and still being able to put up a good line. Like, how much different is he than Kikuchi in that respect, with much higher upside?
Yeah, but how volatile is Kikuchi? I think that would.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you look at Kikuchi's line, you go, you're going to take it.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't take it because I don't like how it takes to get there. Drives me nuts. But no, I get your general point there because he's dialed in again, and now all of a sudden Kikuchi's numbers are where they should be.
Yeah, Kikuchi's got a 3.11 ERA over a strikeout an inning. You're taking that. Like,
I think a better comp might be like, well, no, he figured out I was gonna say like Robbie Ray
or Dylan Cease.
Peak Robbie. It's Dylan Cease and
Snell
Cease because Ray figured out the control when
it's Snell is what it is actually. It's
righty Snell. It's absolutely righty Snell for Jacob Mizorowski, which we know the tightrope and the ups and downs that Snell's walked. The thing of it is, it's like nothing's gonna take me off Mizorowski, right? Obviously, unless he got like sent out or got hurt. But a couple bad starts wouldn't do anything. You're going to stick with him. He's just so unbelievably electric, Joe. I just wonder if he can kind of force his way through his command. Although we've seen this before, and even Cease, who you also comped him to, like we've seen the ups and downs with Cease. So there will be some downs.
Yeah, like when I look
I'm torn. I might move him back to 26.
2023 in the minor leagues, he had a 21% strikeout minus walk rate, AA, high A. 2024 in the minor leagues, he had a 407 FIP with a 16% strikeout minus walk rate, 120 whip. It's good. It's not blowing me away necessarily. And I know like the stuff is unbelievable. But there is also, we haven't discussed this yet, there's also a massive injury risk with him. I don't know when it's
absolutely.
Come. He's having
absolutely, but there is with Skeens too, right? And Skeens is still number 1. So I think that's one of those ticking time bombs that you just have to kind of carry with you.
I also want to push back a little bit on Joe, quoting the FIP, because in that minor league stretch, because he had a 3.33 ERA. I don't give a shit what the FIP is. He's one of these guys who is going to blow past the underlying pitching metrics because he's just so
because that walk rate's
unhittable.
going to inflate the FIP regard, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a self-fulfilling.
Mhm.
Maybe that's not a self-fulfilling prophecy, but like I know his FIPs are never going to impress until the walk rate comes down for Mizrachi.
Yeah,
Is it
so
ever
like,
going to come down?
That I don't know, but it doesn't have to come down that much, right? 9%, anything sub double digits makes him a god, I think.
yeah,
I agree.
I wonder if he needs the Robbie Ray treatment. I mentioned Robbie Ray. Maybe he needs Pete Walker to get in his ear and say, aim for the middle and let your nastiness do the work.
Well,
Stop
and
nibbling.
honestly, I don't think he tries to nibble very much.
No,
like,
I don't. I don't either.
You watch him pitch, like he just can't.
It's hard to rein in.
It's just so violent of a delivery that
and this
like
is
it's hard.
Everything we said about like the Snell comp is perfect. It's right-handed Snell.
Yeah, the Snell comp is perfect. Yeah. Just stay.
I think he's brilliant. Like he is brilliant. I love watching him. I just worry that there's ups and downs for every single pitcher. He's thrown 25 innings in the bigs. There are going to be ups and downs regardless.
Where were you guys on Miz going to the All-Star game? Were you butthurt like the Philly fans or the Philly players? Actually, they were the ones that were.
I wouldn't go as far as butthurt, but I was feeling for Chris Sanchez because that guy deserved to be there. And I know that he was pitching on the weekend.
It's not Mizrachi's fault, though, and he wasn't going to play anyway.
No, I know. Like Ken Rosenthal going out there asking him in the dugout, like, were you treated well by your teammates and all? It's like that. Forget about that. That was ridiculous. I don't think it's Mizrachi's fault at all. He didn't do anything wrong. I think
Rangers said no. Why didn't they ask Sanchez after that?
Yeah, that's the part I don't get.
They didn't want to have to replace him. They didn't want to have to name him and replace him. But when you're talking about
just do that, and then you get everyone. Yeah, you give him the bid. You give Sanchez the bid. After Suarez says no, you give Sanchez the bid. He can't pitch. Give it to Miz. They both get to go. I'm not bothered by the fact that like 70 guys go or whatever after the replacements. It's fine. I don't care.
Whatever.
It's an exhibition. Like, and the fact they get money from it, it wasn't gonna be money that was given to me. So good. Let them get the money. So I do wish Sanchez. Apparently, Philly paid his bonus though, right?
Yeah,
Philly they thought he deserved it.
And Texas paid Eovaldi's.
That's great.
Yeah.
And good on those teams, like not just trying to be letter of the law. Like, nope, you didn't make the All-Star team, so no $84,000 for you, as if the team would ever even feel that. But yeah, anyway, sorry about the derail there. But I didn't mind that he made it. It's an exhibition. I like it. Get the cool players there, even after 5 starts. Like, I'm just not going to be a stick in the mud about that.
The only thing for me is that when people look back, not to say that Christopher Sanchez or even Mizrachi is going to be a Hall of Famer necessarily, but people will look back on things like All-Star appearances to make judgments on. Not that we should, but when there are historical implications and financial implications, I think the league needs to take it a little bit more seriously. Again, I don't really have a big problem with Mizrachi, but I'm just a big Chris Sanchez guy, and I think that he deserves.
I'm also not of the mind that it has to be so first half based though either. Like nobody said that it has to be that. It's the All-Star game. I don't think being good for 3 months makes you a star.
What about like and your Tigers though?
I don't think
no, I mean I love that
I think absolutely you shouldn't be basing it on just the first half. Like,
right. Like the Tigers popped off and they went with 6 guys. That's very cool. But if they had taken some more established stars above them who are having like mediocre seasons, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, I feel like it is that's kind of the point of it, is to look at the first 90, 100 games and reward based on that. I don't know if they've judged.
I don't know that it is. I don't think that's the point of it. The point of it is to let fans see the best players in an exhibition, and that's why they get to vote. And so even if they vote somebody who's quote unquote not deserving, he's the starting center fielder for the American League, because you guys know who I'm talking about. And I obviously love it. Like, you know, I was very down on Baez. The fact that he can bounce back to be an all-star, and I'm not saying he deserved to be the starter. Again, I think you can make a case for him to be on the team with all the comeback and all that. But the fans get to say it's still an exhibition. You're right that there's some money tied to it, Joe. I'm not going to deny that. But the team stepped up, and respect to them. Teams don't usually catch W's like that. But other than that, like, I don't think the fans should be beholden to that and have to vote the quote-unquote right guy, and vote for who you want to see.
That's
I don't care.
Fair.
And I don't care if you see him every day or you never see him. Vote for who you want to see.
Well,
and then
because I love like this whole argument on whether or not, like, oh, should we have had Chris Sanchez in over Mizrachi? I mean, yes, probably, but like Paul is saying, like, this isn't necessarily like who's the best. Otherwise, Clayton Kershaw wouldn't have been on this roster, and nobody's saying that.
Well, he went for the legacy pick.
Yeah, but like, who cares about it? Like, just, it's a fun game. Just enjoy it. Like, have fun.
No, see,
like,
I would like guys like Kershaw going, even if it wasn't a set legacy pick. But if you really want to make it like situated, okay, where
you
got a big chunk of, Thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth. As I say, do like newcomer on the block who's got fewer than 50 innings, fewer than 100 plate appearances, and maybe some years there isn't one. But that can be the Mizrachi slot. They can have the legend for the Kershaw slot, and then the rest can be the first half. Go ahead.
I have the solution for you, right? MLB is by far of the big three sports, right? If we're not including the NHL, right?
How dare you?
Well, like,
with a Canadian on the show, Justin,
honestly, I think the NHL All-Star Game is the best All-Star game. The NHL is just the worst sport.
Well, and they keep trying things.
In terms of like marketing their own sport, they're by far the worst. But of the other three, MLB is the worst, right? Well, go to the league and steal what they do from the best at marketing, right? And that's the NBA. NBA marketing, especially for the All-Star Week, is unrivaled. Eliminate the futures game and have a prospects versus rookies game.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. So you take the futures game players, put them against current rookies
or second-year players,
rookies, sophomores. Yeah, you can have a little team of rookies, sophomores. I'm so down for that.
For the
100%.
Because you can do their own showcase and don't put it at Saturday night against other baseball games so nobody watches
for 7 innings.
Yeah,
fuck you with the 7 innings. 7. What do we? Come on, man. And I know it's an exhibition, so people can throw my words right back at me. It's an exhibition. Why do you care? 7 innings? Why can't they play 9? And then you can get every player in. Like, give me a break. But anyway, so no, I didn't mean to derail us with the Miz combo, but I thought that the Phillies. Listen, I get that they're supporting their boy, but you're being kind of a dick to Mizrachi for no good reason, right? You can say like, "Hey, all credit to him. What an electric player. That's great. I just wish our boy would have gone because he's been doing it for 4 or 5 years now, and he put up another great first half. And Christopher Sanchez probably should be there. So you're never going to get me saying that Sanchez shouldn't have been there. You guys know I love him, but I had no problem with Miz being there. Let's move on to our next guy who we did hint at earlier, Justin, Andrew Abbott.
Speaking about being a dick for no good reason, let's talk about Andrew Abbott and why the hell you have him this high. You know he's going to fall apart at some point.
I was slow to move on him. I really was. If you like chart, and I wish we had the dope feature that Pitcher List does, where if you go to a player profile, you can see like every blurb that Nick has written about them. Do we have to call him Jick, by the way? If he's in our circle, he has to be a J name. So everything that Jick Jollick has written, you can see every little blurb, and it'd be cool if I could see all the ones very easily with Andrew Abbott, because I know I was pretty slow to like believe in him. So I feel what you're saying here. But the more I finally started to watch, and that's what you and I always like to do, Justin, when we're kind of cool on a guy or we're not really getting it, we got to do the work and actually see what's going on. And I've come away a lot more impressed with Andrew Abbott this year than last. Last year, I didn't believe in him at all for a second. I thought everything he did, every good start he had was fraudulent. He couldn't strike me out last year, Andrew Abbott, with his like 8% swinging strike rate. I was just like out on this guy completely, even though he had like a decent ERA. So people were still interested. Well, this year he comes around, he's not blowing people away. Still couldn't strike me out because I'm amazing. But it is up at 11% now. So his strikeout rate, is a more palatable 23%. But I really, really like the control gains this year. I think he's locating a lot better. He's got the walk rate down to 7%, home runs down with it. So not only, it isn't just control, like just peppering the zone. He is commanding because he's avoiding the home runs. Usually when you see a walk rate drop for a guy like this, who isn't missing a ton more bats, I worry that the homers are going to skyrocket. Now, part of it is that 8% homer to fly ball. That has helped. But that's not in a crazy egregious number. Even if he bounced back to 12%, that's only going to be a couple homers. I don't think Andrew Abbott would be all the way back up to 1.6 homer 9 if you regressed his homer to fly ball. So put a button on it. I just thought he's pitching a lot better this year. You're right. He's not a 207, 108, but I didn't rank him as that. 207 ERA, 108 whip. I didn't rank him as that. I did rank him pretty high at 30, but I think he's more of like a 360, 115 with a decent K rate and solid win opportunity. I do realize that he's boosted by having an 8-1 record. I'm not saying he's going to repeat that in the second half, but I like the Cincy team. I think they're decent. So I take the pushback, and even though I'm not relenting on liking him, I might still move him down because I see some of these names here that I might want to move below Abbott below. But all in all, I think he's better than he was last year by an appreciable amount, and that's why I gave him a little bit of belief with Andrew Abbott.
Joe, where are you at on Andrew Abbott? Maybe you can kind of break the tie.
Here, yeah.
I just think there's going to be a huge aggression monster, especially in that part.
You think he's going to be like a 4.5 type guy? Like what do we? Let's do the old Pianowski. Regress to what?
I think he's probably a 4.5 guy in the second half. I don't think
that is where the
stuff is great.
projections are.
Yeah, it's just the stuff is really, really not good.
It's mediocre, especially to be in
Yeah.
Cincinnati with Abbott. We're talking Andrew Abbott right now.
And like I said, 8% homer to fly ball rate is going to regress, I think, a ton. He's got an 86%.
He was an 11% career. I think even if you take him back to last year's 12%, you know, he can live with that. Go ahead, Joe.
I'm more on the Justin side. I think he's probably going to be maybe not 4.5. That feels a little high, but maybe like 4.2, like kind of what the Zips number is, 4.25 ERA with like maybe he gets you a 125 whip or so. But I do think that regression is coming. Like if you look at the batted ball distribution, there's not really much of a change this year in terms of the fly balls, the ground balls. It's about where he has been. Infield fly balls, line drives. Like there's not much of a difference there. The stuff is about the same. Went from 94 to 96. Now the command, like you mentioned, the location plus has gone from 98 to 102, which is really nice. But the swing strike rate is still kind of unexceptional at 11%. It's not terrible, but I just don't really think that he is a needle mover, especially with that ballpark. There is a lot of risk here. So I think that you can kind of split the difference with what he's done so far this year versus what he's done in his career in terms of the underlying numbers. Strikeout rate might go down a little bit. Maybe he's like a 20% strikeout rate guy with a
Well, I got to be honest. If Abbott gives any Ks back, that's really bad. I kind of need him to be here at 23%. You know, I'm going to relent on something here. I did the math on Andrew Abbott. I'll let you finish your point there, Joe. I know I cut you off and I apologize. The 8% homer to fly ball versus 12% last year. If he did regress back to that, his home run rate, the extra home runs would put him at 1.5. I didn't think it would be quite that severe with 4 points of homer to fly ball, but he'd move from 0.99 to 1.5 after a 1.6 last year. So he actually, the difference is more or less the homer to fly ball. And while I do think he's doing some things to help that, I don't know that he's doing enough as a fly ball lean guy, Andrew Abbott, to really consider that bankable. So I am,
and I don't think you necessarily need to move him down a ton.
No, I took him off the list. You convinced me.
Perfect. So, awesome. So
he's off the list because Justin Mason made me.
I will say, because like you look at, you know, I still in my head think of like, oh, top 30. Like there's some amazing starters, you know, top 30 and, you know, between 30 and 40, 30 and 50. But I also forget how thin things have gotten with the injuries this year, because I kind of start looking at the names below and I go, yeah, no, I can see the argument over like Reese Olson and, you know, like Merrill Kelly and you know, Jack Flaherty, but like
that's exactly where I'm moving him though, is right in that group.
I think that's probably where he should be. Like I would probably put him 37 below Strider.
Exactly where he's going to go after that. Let's see. Yep, we nailed it. Yep. Okay, yeah, you guys convinced me on that one. Abbott too high there. Again, I also don't have a ton of belief, but 30 was a bit higher than he should be there, especially if those home runs regress. Joe, did you have anything else on him? Because I did cut you off before you completely finished your point.
No, I think that's pretty much it. I just wonder if we're maybe going to see the strikeout rate dip another point or two. I'm not sure if that
happens. Then he's in the 50s. Like, I cut you off again. I'm a piece of shit, dude. But yeah, you're right on the K's. Like if he, man, you're making me want to drop him even more. I am getting scared now.
Not to say that they are.
All my previous fears are coming right back about Andrew Abbott as you guys are kind of outlining them.
There's a chance like maybe if maintains, like it's not a huge difference. I think if he's at 23 versus 21, but when he's already kind of treading on thin ice,
that's the thing, right?
That's the thing.
Do you guys like him or teammate Chase Burns better? You know, because Burns is like baby Mizorowski here. He had that one nightmare start that will take him forever to work off of his ERA, but he bounced back. He still looks good.
I prefer Burns, but I can see the argument against Burns here.
Burns, you prefer Burns long term or even the rest of this year?
Both.
Wow. Okay, that's some pretty high praise for Burns. What about you, Joe? With Burns versus Miz? Wow. Okay, a couple Burns lovers. So then, should I leapfrog Burns ahead of Abbott or bring Abbott down to Burns?
Where do you have Burns?
Meet in the middle.
43.
Where did I put Burns last time? I had him at 46.
Okay, so we're in the same ballpark there. I could put him over my Tigers trio. I do love those guys, but I'm realistic about my Tigers. I got Mize, Flaherty, Olson. They happen to be back to back.
Honestly, I would keep Abbott where he is, except for move Burns ahead. That's what I would do.
Yep, I am doing exactly that. I'm in lockstep with you here. All right, cool. All right, Justin, take us to our next guy.
All right, next guy on the docket, we've got Dylan Cease, who Joe wanted to talk about, so I'm just going to throw it straight to Joe.
Yeah, I feel like I'm banging my head against the fucking wall with Dylan Cease, but it's coming next week. Anytime now, he's going to turn it around.
It's coming, dude.
It's coming. It's, every year there's these guys. Like, I feel like every week last year I wrote up a Rono Blanco sell high piece, sell high. It's coming. And sometimes it never comes. But with the underlying numbers being where they are, I think it's coming pretty soon for Dylan Cease. The walk rate is something we mentioned earlier in the show. It was a huge problem earlier in his career. He's down at 8.8%, with the strikeouts still being at 29%. We're all Sierra guys. 341 mark that he has this year is the best mark of his entire career. The swinging strike rate at 16% is the best of his career. The 33.5% O swing, best of his career. Zone contact against, second best number he's ever had before. And the stuff is still great at 108. So when you look below the surface, if you didn't look at ERA or whip or anything like that, you'd probably look at these numbers and think Dylan Cease has been a top, an SP1 this year or a top 15 guy. And the results just haven't really been there. I think part of it might be the BABIP a little bit. Maybe that strand rate could go up, although he has been a 68% strand rate guy for the last couple of years. So maybe it doesn't go up. But I think there is room for improvement here. If you look at any of the underlying numbers, they're a lot better. Isn't it the
homers, Joe? Isn't it really the homers, though, too? 1.3 for Cease, worst since 2020.
Yeah, he's allowing a 10% barrel rate, which is something that he hasn't really done in his career. And in that
13% homer to fly ball, which is well above career marks. I wonder if he could just shave a few of those off, like go the other way from Abbott, where Cease gets back to his home run groove. And that alone with these same skills could make up all the difference. And he's back to mid-3s ERA with palatable whip. He's still never going to be the best whip guy because he has his walks and he can be hittable at times. Sure. But yeah, like I'm with you on banging the head, but again, it's that inactionable sort of player of Dylan Cease. You drafted this. And I'm not saying you specifically, but like, unless you do have him. But, when we go in and draft Dylan Cease, you know what you're getting into. You have to be prepared to have the ups and downs. And you have to have the fortitude to stick with it. Because I don't think you're holding a losing hand here, even at 488, 133 on the ERA whip for Cease. I still think by year's end, there's a strong chance, not just a chance, a strong chance that it looks more like the composite is going to be like 375. But the rest of the way from here forward can be like a 310, 3.25, with a good whip and a boatload of Ks. I just haven't found a single reason to really move off of him, to the point where, based on everything you outlined, Joe, and what I'm saying here, I almost want to move him up.
Like another thing too that works against him, and I have him at 20 right now. Again, those are 3 weeks out of date. I need to touch them up a little bit, but that's generally where I see him. Another way he's been getting screwed this year, he has 3 wins in 19 games. And yes, like a 488 ERA, okay, he's not going to have a ton of wins. But they have arguably the best pen in the majors behind him.
Crazy, dude.
And maybe they're not the best pen, but like a top 3 bullpen. They sent 3 guys to the All-Star game from their bullpen. And he has 3 wins in 19 starts for a good team. So
that's ridiculous.
That's going to turn around as well. So if you're in a trade league, I think Dylan Cease at this point, the people who drafted him are probably pretty damn sick of him every single week, giving you 4 earned runs, 5 earned runs. You could probably get him for a song right now, depending on the manager. And I would definitely do it if you can.
Couldn't agree more. In fact, like I said, to this point, I'm moving him up a decent bit. I'm moving him right behind the Miz.
Beautiful.
Because I love Cease. Go ahead.
I can tell you what the issue is here, right? Either of you guys play Pee Wee?
Yeah, I played baseball until I was like 18.
What did your hitting coach, your head coach or whatever it was in Pee Wee tell you to do when you went up for an at bat?
Sporer, calm the fuck down. Don't swing at the first pitch.
Take the first.
And then what do you do after that?
Swing away like a madman.
Right? Yeah. Dylan Cease has given up 13 of his 15 home runs on the second pitch of a bat this year.
Woo.
Oh wow! So they're jumping him.
Yeah, they're gauging him with that first pitch.
Yeah,
it's done.
And then they are crushing it. He needs better sequencing. This is bad sequencing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is an issue with the catcher or an issue with him, but this is bad sequencing.
How quickly can you find out like what the pitch type is? Is it a lot more sliders or fastball? I don't want to put you on the spot here, like right on the show.
Give me like 2 minutes.
But I'm curious if it's one pitch or the other, because then that would go back to your sequencing issue of like either the catcher has to realize stop calling that on the second pitch, especially if it's doubling up. If they're going like fastball, or slider, and it's like that second one is clearly a problem. But either way, like Yeah, Joe, I think you really convinced me to move him up because I wasn't going to go lower than whatever I had, like 35 when we first started this.
It's
and
about 50-50 between the slider and the four-seamer. So,
but and again, you don't have to do this right now, but then I wonder what the first pitch was, right? In each of those sequences, how often is it doubling up, or does he just do a pattern, a fastball followed by a slider, followed by I don't know. But Cease is just too talented to be a 488 pitcher. I'm sorry. And I know he was 4 1/4, 4.5 in 2023. So like you said, Joe, you keep saying it's going to happen. And sometimes the season runs out before it happens. That could be the case here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the strong bet, the process versus results, is to continue to bet on Dylan Cease. I promise. I know it's a headbanging, infuriating exercise right now, but everything that we've outlined, even down to Joe's win total thing, everything says he's way better than this for Dylan Cease. Everything, except for the home run rate.
There is a small part of me that almost hopes he finishes out at a 4.5, 4.6, so we can
get him for nothing next year. Yes, because you always buy the dip on a guy like Cease, and right now the dip is happening in season. Go out and buy him.
He's been doing the Aaron Nola. He's been doing the Aaron Nola.
Yes.
Every odd year is bad. Every even year has been good so far, going back to 2020.
It is crazy, the ups and downs, and they're so different too, right? Like they're not very similar guys in terms of like
Alex Rios of pitchers.
Oh my God, Rios, the ups and downs with him. And I loved Alex Rios.
I did too. I was a massive Alex Rios fan.
I grew up on Alex Rios.
Too, though. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Jesus Lizard, Justin. I imagine you have some concerns about some of the numbers he's put up, but he's like, go ahead. I'll let you start.
Yeah, I mean, I think Luzardo is such an interesting guy to have this high, right? You have him at number 34, and that's with having moved some guys around already. But to me, like, you look at his game logs, and he has had stretches where he has been the best pitcher in baseball this year, and then when he just can't figure out anything. And I just don't know what pitcher you're going to get in the second half.
Nor do I, by the way.
And that, to me, is the really, really difficult part of ranking him in the top 40 starters.
It is not the greatest stat, but I'm a big fan of game score as a shorthand. I know Bill James, who created it, he doesn't even like it anymore. I think he's too hard on himself for that, and too light on himself for other things, because some of the other stuff he says is absolutely insane. He should focus more on that. But the game score, I think, is actually pretty useful. It's a way to kind of judge a start where you start at 50, you get credits and debits based on what you do. You get 3 points for finishing an inning, 2 points for every inning completed after the fourth. You subtract 2 points for a hit allowed, et cetera, et cetera. So 50 is a start point. Anything below 45 is a pretty bad start. You can't really fake anything below that as good. Similarly, anything.
What is negative 15? Because that's what he did against Phillies.
Let me look that up. Oh, it says jump off a bridge if you do that.
Yeah.
So, and nothing over 55 or even 60 for sure. But even some of your upper 50s are pretty good. Here are his game scores since May 20th for Jesus Luzardo: 71, 56. Excellent and very good. -11, 7, 68, 39, 74, 49, 23, 77. What the hell do you do with a guy like this? I follow game scores a lot. I've never seen somebody be this disparate from like you said, Justin, best pitcher in the league to maybe you should go to AA for a little bit.
Yeah.
What the hell's, and I know there was some talk of tipping during the 20 runs that he gave up on the 2 starts back-to-back, May 31st, 6-5, and June 5th. But since then, he's bounced back, but still had some bumps there, including Miami of all teams. He blew a start at Miami.
And home versus Cincinnati, where he allowed 5 or 6 total runs in 2 innings. So
I don't know either, but for me, the good is so good that I still couldn't get him much lower than where he's at right now, 34. And I still think the upside
at least you're getting
rich.
Strikeouts, right?
Right.
I mean, you're still going to get a ton of strikeouts.
It's kind of a lefty Cease in terms of the volatility profile that we're talking about here.
That's a really, really good comp, honestly. But
so that's why I still have him really high, despite a 141 whip on the season, which is really, really bad.
Yeah, I think I'd probably have him lower, but I also understand you have him where you do. Joe, where are you at on Luzardo?
No, I'm right in line with where you got him here, Paul. I think he should be in the mid-30s somewhere. It's just like you guys have laid out. It's really unpredictable, but most of what we're seeing below the surface is really good. He doesn't get barreled up a ton. The hard hit rate at 40 is definitely fine. 20% strikeout minus walk rate. He has a 268 FIP and a 345 Sierra. Those are really good. And then he has a 140 whip. So it's kind of hard to reconcile those two things. But I think overall he's fine. Like if you look at the schedule and you want to sit him for super tough matchups for the time being, I wouldn't have a big problem.
I can
with that.
see it, yeah.
But he's got the Angels and he's got Boston. So I guess, I wouldn't be opposed considering how Boston's played to sitting him for that Boston one, depending on the depth of your league.
And the Angels hit bombs.
The Angels do hit bombs, but mostly off of righties. But also, again, I use the Cease comparison here with Luzardo. Can you stomach sitting 13 Ks? Because he's always got that on the table against anybody. And so, I hear you on maybe curating some Luzardo starts, but I have a tough time doing it unless you're in like a shallower league where you have a deep rotation. Go ahead, Justin.
Angels are the ninth best team in home runs versus lefties.
So they're still pretty good against them. Okay, I know they're like 2 versus righties. So they hit bombs in general.
81 WRC plus against lefties.
But they go yard, and homers are killers. Mm-hmm. So that's a good point to make, though, that like they don't normally hit lefties, but when they do, they can bomb you out a little bit and give you a little bit of trouble. So that is definitely worth knowing with regards to the Angels there. So yeah, I like Luzardo. He is very risky. I understand the frustration, but I had to stay high with him. Our very next guy is Strider. And Joe, you wanted to bring up Spencer Strider. So go ahead.
Yeah, this feels super low.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say super high.
No, I don't know. Just when I first looked at it, it feels kind of low, 35. And then looking at the numbers, like since he's come back, it's been 10 starts, a 3.97 ERA with a 116 whip. 20% strikeout minus walk. We're talking about the strikeouts a lot during the course of the show today, and there have been some massive strikeout games since he's come back. Most recently, 11 at Sacramento, at Oakland, whatever you're calling it. 13. There was a 13 strikeout game, albeit the Rockies. He's had a couple of 8s, so like the strikeouts are still there. He does seem to be kind of rounding into form.
He does.
I feel like for me. And maybe this is a little bit aggressive, but he feels like an SP1 or like a high-end SP2 for me going forward. The team context is garbage, and they may be selling.
Which is still crazy, by the way. But they're the team version of what you were saying with like Cease about like it's going to happen, and it just doesn't happen. No, I'm with you. I'm fully moved by that. I didn't really give him a full.
Honestly, I didn't have a problem with your ranking on Strider. I thought that was actually the right spot. But the more I dig into it, now that Joe's talking, I kind of agree with Joe here.
Yeah, I moved him right behind Miz.
And
maybe he should be over Miz.
Over his last 6 starts, he has a 2.95 ERA, a 2.48 FIP. He's allowing 0.7 homers per 9. He's got 50 strikeouts, which brings him to a 34% strikeout rate in this stretch. I think he's back to being Strider. I honestly
he super convinced me, guys. I moved him way up.
Yeah, I think he's
16
probably. Yeah. I put him top 10.
I was still anchored on some of his early season stuff. It's just one of those out of sight, out of minds for me with Strider. I don't have him anywhere, so that's on me. One of the downsides of like doing these ranking updates is you can't deep dive all 100 150 players. So I was kind of going off of some just outdated info, really. And honestly, Justin, you might be right on the top 10 bit.
I think you have to put him above Logan Gilbert.
I was just about to put him right behind Rodon, which is right above Gilbert.
Oh.
Yeah, you guys got me skyrocketing.
Honestly, I can make the argument that he should be right behind DeGrom.
You can. I think that is a valid argument. I'm going to keep the 2 Yankees ahead of him, Fried and Rodon, but I would listen to your argument about Strider being right behind DeGrom at 8.
And I still think it was a mistake for people to draft him as early as they did.
I do agree with that because you had to hold a month.
But the end of the season may look like people are going to be right in the like end.
Well, actually, wait, I forgot that he did come back on the 16th and then got hurt. I'm gonna back off. I don't think it was wrong. He came back on the 16th. You didn't have to hold him that long.
I'm saying the results are going to seem like it's right, but I still think the process is wrong.
Even with him coming back that early, because my biggest issue with Strider was that waiting a month, but 4/16 is not bad. He was back for game 18 on the season.
No, but then he went out again, didn't he?
Well, but you didn't know that. It was a hamstring.
But you have to pay. But by my argument against making these kind of decisions, it's leaving the results out of it, because the results are the results. We can't control the results.
Right.
But the process is these guys often get hurt, whether it's re-aggravating the original injury or getting another injury. And so you have to bake in more time being missed, because what I think what a lot of people did was
pretty fluky that he had a hamstring though right after that first.
No, it's not. I mean, the injury itself is fluky, but the fact that he got injured is not fluky, because everybody gets injured. So you have to bake in, like, people are like, well, he's going to be back in 3 weeks, and then he's going to throw 180 innings.
I never said
no
that.
way. I'm not saying you said it. I'm saying other people said it. I'm saying it was that you didn't draft Strider.
True.
So, right, because
I'm being defensive for nothing.
Yeah, I don't know why you're defending these people.
Well, because I don't know. I was against it as a process, but I don't know, man. Like, I hear what you're saying. Like, there's extra risk.
And I'm gonna evoke the name. Look, Shane McClanahan. Like, he didn't have the same injury. He didn't have a reoccurrence. He had a different injury, and he's still not back. Like, that was in the range of outcomes that you could have paid for. Right? Just because.
True, but his injury. Here's the thing, though. His injury. The reason that Shane McClanahan is different. His injury was fresh. Strider was recovering from he didn't get hurt.
I'm saying prior to McClanahan getting injured, people were drafting him thinking they were going to get 150 plus innings.
Oh yeah, well, because they said he was going to throw.
And you have gotten 0.
Well, yeah, no, it ended up being a pretty rough pick.
And it's the same process that went into Strider. McClanahan just got hurt before the last few drafts were done. But there were plenty of people who drafted McClanahan.
Here's the thing.
Thinking the same thing as Strider that have gotten 0. And I'm saying that.
So one worked, one didn't. That doesn't mean that the process is always wrong, right? You can't just always count when it's negative.
But there are more occurrences of it being wrong than it being right. Strider is the exception, not the rule.
I don't know that I would need more
Manaea.
on that. No, Manaea was never draftable. He was always out for like 8 weeks. Never draftable.
No, he wasn't before he got.
No. Absolutely, never hit my draft radar. Manaea never made sense to draft to me in an NFBC situation. Well, who was the other one?
Kirby. And I drafted Kirby with the same idea of thought process.
Yeah, I did too. And we're going to win. Yes, it did. Yeah, it's going to work. It's working. He's back.
It's not because you've given on top of like him not being good yet. I'm hoping he's good in this.
Wait. He's a 4.50 ERA, which is fine. That's like a baseline quality start with a 115 whip and 56 Ks. Yes, you had to wait longer. Yes, I grant that, right? Because part of the reason I drafted him was Kirby was supposed to come back quicker. But he came back May 22nd
and
had 2 rough starts, and he's been a god since. Again, so what? Wait,
I'm saying you're giving up the opportunity cost, and there's no guarantee he's going to go back to being the guy he was. It was a bad
absolutely.
process.
There's no guarantees with anything. I don't know that makes it a bad process, though. Like, just because you're it's still like a lottery ticket of sorts. There has to be a range of outcomes. I don't think just because some guys fail that it's always bad, right? Again, Strider was expensive. I think one of the reasons that you're better to focus just on him and not expand out to these other guys is nobody cost what he cost. That was the problem with Strider, is that he was a top 50 cost.
And I think that should definitely, and is a huge part of the calculus.
McClanahan was 200 on average.
Well, he wasn't
with a 93
before he got hurt.
With a 93 peak.
Before he got hurt, he wasn't there. Before he got hurt, he was going much higher than that.
With a 93 peak. He had a 93 peak in the main event, guys.
In the main event, but like before the main event drafts had already really started after he got hurt.
What was his DC minimum?
Yeah, what was
74 in the OC.
What is the DC?
I don't know. 70.
I know, Paul.
God,
70. That's still a far cry from Strider. That's still two rounds.
Yeah.
So again, I think Strider's his own thing. And again, I agreed with not drafting him because I thought, first off, I had him for a month and he came back 2 weeks in. He did get hurt. I understand what you're saying about like the higher risk, but I don't know. You're bending my brain right now because it's like on one hand, you are agreeing with me that every pitcher has inherent risk and you're no longer like preaching safety because it's a myth and does not exist for pitchers. And then on the other hand, you're saying here that like you can never draft it. Who the hell do you draft to avoid risk then?
No one.
You're right. Like you just skip pitchers. I am not drafting pitchers, y'all. Like
my pitches was pretty good this year outside.
You've actually had some
freaking murdered.
Yeah,
like,
until you got a couple injuries there, you've had some amazing rotations. But again,
it's a math equation, right? If we say like, I'm just going to use a round number, 200 innings, right? Obviously not every pitcher is going to get even close to 200 innings, but like we say 200 innings through the course of a season, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're cutting off a fifth of the season because you know that the player is going to be out, you're already taking out, what is that? 50 or not 50 innings, 40 innings, right?
200. Sorry, I'm not.
You're already taking 40 innings off the docket. You're saying every pitcher has a 50% chance of missing another 40 to 50 innings because of random injuries.
Sure.
Your pie has just gotten smaller and smaller by guaranteeing you're going to miss.
But how tasty is that pie? That goes back to DeGrom now, right? Where I said that DeGrom you can no longer lose having drafted DeGrom. He has cashed the ticket. I stand firm by that, even at 112 innings. With a 2.32 ERA and an 0.91 whip.
At the end of the day, I think Strider may, because I think he's, like I said, I think he's the top 10, top 7.
Yeah. So you're saying process versus results on that. And I'm
saying the results are going to bear out that Strider's only going to end up being a good pick just in the math of it.
Do you think it'll make people make worse decisions going forward then?
It always does. Because everybody forgets the ones that don't work.
You're right about that. I do agree, because people are going to say Strider. If he goes and has a huge second half, people are going to say Strider next year to justify every injury risk. You're 1,000% correct on that. But I do have to go back to my other question about then who the frick do you draft? Because yes, you're talking about the pie getting smaller, and I know you're big on volume. I am too. You're right to be. That is smart. But you're still building a whole rotation here. And I don't think you have to get max innings from everyone, because you're going to be having a fluid roster throughout the year. So again, to use your pie analogy, yes, as it shrinks, but if the taste of it is really good, can you not take a smaller piece for for a more quality pie, so to speak? Like, where's your cutoff there? Because what people were saying with Strider was, I might only get 120 innings. I know some people were trying to pie in the sky it and think, oh, he'll come back 3 weeks in and then pitch 100% from there. But a lot of the more reasonable Strider folks were like, I just need $120, because they thought that the 120 pieces of that pie would be so rich.
I think we all make determinations based on our own risk tolerance of how tasty a smaller piece of pie is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but you need to be really smart about your roster construction. I think a lot of the people are making that argument for a guy like Strider. We're trying to take a lot of small pieces of pie that are going to taste really good, and I bet you it doesn't work.
Well, and he also, his min in the main was 34. So we're talking about a totally different thing from the Minayas and the McClanagans. That's the only reason I pushed back on including those names, because Strider was his own thing. We've never seen a guy going that high with such injury concern, with guaranteed missed time. Now, again, he beat the timeline. Then the hamstring happened. It'd be a whole different story. So, okay, I see what you're saying here. And again, you're always going to favor volume. I get that. I respect that. I'm with you on that.
And we'll see, because I'm sure, like, maybe, and I should write this down so I actually remember to do this. I will go through.
Put it in your phone with a reminder for October. This is what I always do for off-season stuff. I'm like, October 1st reminder, and then I'll just put a little message in.
I want to go see like how many teams in like the top 30 of the NFBC main event drafted Strider.
Yeah.
Because
or not even just that, but like, what is their construction? Like, how are winning teams building rotations this year? And it's not one
I just brought
size
up
fits all.
I just brought up the team that's first overall right now, and their starting rotation: Zach Wheeler, boring, effective, volume.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter Brown, boring, effective, volume. Freddie Peralta, boring, effective, volume. Jose Barrios, boring, effective, volume. Like, that's. Like, people don't like to draft like that. They always want to shoot for the highest upside guy.
Hunter Brown was a high upside guy, I think. Just you don't listen to Nick Pollack.
But it's high upside because of the volume, right? It's the same way like Logan Gilbert was before the injury, right?
I thought Hunter Brown had ace potential. I've always felt that, but I'm biased toward him, so I don't want to get bogged down.
I don't disagree with you. I don't generally disagree with you, but it's volume that wins these things. It's not taking these high upside gambles early. You want to take that high upside gamble late? No problem. If Spencer Strider was going in the 14th round, I would have been all over it.
Again, the Strider one, I'm not going to argue. 34 was too early for me to take a guy like that who had guaranteed missed time in his back pocket. It was a lock. He was never going to be there on opening day. It ended up being 2 weeks instead of a month, which is what I was operating with. But beyond that, I think once you get past like pick 50, pick 60, I think some of them are open though, because I don't know. I just don't think you can avoid. Now, again, I want to stop short of, I don't want to take the guys that are guaranteed injury, but you brought up McClanahan. Before his injury, the Rays told us he was going to get 150. What, we're not supposed to believe them?
No.
Why?
Teams lie, to quote a famous Twitter doctor.
Okay, teams do lie. Obviously,
no, because
but like, what are we supposed to go off of then?
I mean,
like,
me,
why couldn't he get
I just never trust guys coming back.
How many innings did you think he was going to get this year?
Give me a moment, I'll look it up
again. Because I don't see any real reason outside of knowing that he was going to get hurt again.
I'm gonna have updated projections, so I won't have.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think I had him for like 110, 120.
See, for me, with a guy like that who was coming back, Shane McClanahan, missed all last year, yes, but he's 28 years old. He has a previous high of 166. That is the anchor at that point for me with these guys that are older. Now, the Rays are a different story too. They probably weren't going to just turn them all the way loose, but they said $150. And I thought, I don't see any reason that wasn't worth buying into before he got hurt. Now, where they did freaking lie, it seems, was the severity of the injury when they tried to downplay it when he first got hurt. That is where teams always lie. I do believe them on the 150 innings. Anyway, I've taken us far afield here on another pitcher injury conversation, as I am wont to do, but I'm getting Justin on my side. You guys hear how he's talking more about, pitchers, everyone has risk, because he used to be like, I'm going to take this safe pitcher, which is not a fucking thing. They don't exist.
I haven't changed my tune on that. You're just actually hearing me better.
You've completely changed your tune. I guarantee listeners would agree with me. You haven't 180'd, but you have changed your tune. Let's talk Trevor Rogers, the god. By the way, win-win deal, by the way. Kyle Stowers in the All-Star game, Trevor Rogers bouncing back. Win-win deal, baby. Let's go. Go ahead, Joe. You got Trevor Rogers listed here for us.
Well, I just wanted to kind of get a discussion going on. Do we think this is like, what do we think he is at this point?
I do buy it. I am a fan, and maybe I am clouded by my previous fandom. Perhaps I will acknowledge that that's a possibility, but I do believe in what Trevor Rogers is doing. What
probability?
What are you saying probability for? I'm sorry.
You said it's a possibility.
It's a probability. Yeah. It's a probability that I'm being influenced by my love of him. Yes, I grant that. I'm in the bag for Trevor Rogers. I was after the trade last year. It flopped. I'm back this year. It's working. So yes, I have bias toward him. That is on the table. But I'm also looking at the skills here. The velo's back, not all the way back to 2021 levels, but way ahead of last year's levels. He was at 91.9. He's at 93.5 this year. He's locating a lot better. Do I wish he had better like raw stuff plus? Sure. But I still look at a 13% swinging strike rate. And while the stuff plus is only 93, if you're missing bats, I don't really know how to, like, what's the disconnect there? And stuff plus is still kind of new. I respect it. I like it. But if you're still missing the bats at a 13% clip on the swinging strike rate, I don't know if I'm that bothered by your stuff rating not being that sexy. Yes, the 200 BABIP is going to regress. Obviously, so is the 84% left on base rate. But nobody expects Trevor Rogers to maintain a 153 ERA, 082 whip. Put him down for 360 ERA and a 115 whip the rest of the way with good Ks and actually a halfway decent chance to win, because I don't think Baltimore's going to like storm the castle and make a run, but I think they're going to actually be all right in the second half.
That puts you well ahead of what we have on the site in terms of rest of the season, because we got him for like a 4.3 and a 135. Yep.
And I understand that because the projections are weighted maybe the 360 is aggressive, because even his best year, he still had a 372 Sierra. He had a 264 ERA, but it was a 372. So let me go 375. It's still way better than the site has, but I'll say 375 on the ERA for Trevor Rogers, and I'll go 124 on the whip. I'll bump it up a little bit, but that's still very good, and I'll gladly take that from T-Raj.
What do you think, Justin? Do you think he's a top 50 guy for you?
So I have kind of the opposite initial gut reaction than Paul, because Paul is like, Paul's always loved Trevor Rogers, and he wants to believe that this is legit, and I have always loved Trevor Rogers too, but I feel like a jilted lover. Like that this guy burned me so freaking bad the last few seasons when I really believed in everything.
Does the injury not explain all of it though? Right?
I mean,
Is it sometimes
I think it could. I think it definitely could. I also think that a little bit of a pitch mix change here, where he is a little bit wider arsenal. He's added the sweeper. He's decided he's going to stop throwing the traditional slider as much. He's dropped it from 21% down to 11%. He's thrown the changeup a good amount. I do think this can work, especially in that ballpark, which is good for pitching, even though they changed the dimensions. It's still working well for the pitchers. I think that the margin for error on Trevor Rogers, because the stuff isn't great, is very, very minimal. So, I do think, if you go and watch some of these games that he's thrown, and I've watched about half of his starts since he returned to the majors, and there are times where he looks like the guy I thought he would end up being as a dominant starter. And then there are other times where I go, oh, that Texas start, that was all about Texas being bad. That had 100%. Nothing to do with him. I could have thrown he was shutout in that game.
He was getting lucky in that one with that. I totally agree.
Lucky. But you also I talk about zone contact for hitters and things like that, because I like guys who give themselves the opportunity to get lucky, and Trevor Rogers is doing the right things with kind of the arsenal tweak. And allowing guys to make weak contact, where I think this can work. Will it work? I don't know, but I think this is actually kind of a perfect ranking, because putting him at 47 says hey, he's got the upside of a top 30 and he's got the downside of an 80, you know, because this is the glob territory here
100%
in terms of the ranking. So I actually don't have a problem with this ranking. If I was nitpicking, would I say oh, you have him 44, it's not 47, but would I say would I rather have Luis Castillo? Yeah, maybe. I might rather have Kevin Gausman, but am I gonna beat Paul up over that? No, I think this is totally fine and defensible of a ranking.
I respect that.
Okay. All right, let's go move to one that again, I'm not here to beat up Paul for ranking Drew Rasmussen at 57. This was more a matter
too low, right?
No, it's not. I don't think it's bad. I have no idea where to put him, because they are limiting him. They say they want to keep him at 150 innings on the year.
But they said he's back on regular starts, so that's why I was I tried to straddle the line.
For the next start, who knows what the start after that's going to look like? I think this is going to be one of the most frustrating pitchers to roster, because
especially if he opens, dude. Why can't he be the? You guys know, I know I do it all the time, but I want the next Ryan Yarbrough. Let him be that. Yeah. But if it's Joe Boyle, by the way, how sick is that? If Rasmussen opens for Boyle, oh my God. But I wish Rasmussen could be the middle guy. I didn't let you finish. I'm sorry. But yeah, I struggled with him. So go ahead on Rasmussen.
And I can totally understand, because I would have no idea where to put him.
Joe, where do you have Rasmussen? You ranked when he was still starting, when the squirreliness wasn't happening yet. So keep that in mind when you're here.
It's going to look egregiously bad, but I had him at 27.
It's going to, which is understandable where you were ranked.
Exactly. That's where I'd have him.
It was June 25th when I did.
That's where I would have him if he was starting all the time. 57 might still be a little too low, since they did say at least he's back in the rotation for now.
It might be too low. It also might be too high, because
if he's a 3-inning opener, he's worthless in fantasy. Worthless. I'm sorry. Even if they're 3 perfect innings, you can't get a win, and the ratio help is only so good for 3 innings.
He's not a huge strikeout guy. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know what to do with Drew Rasmussen, except for hope that he goes out in this first start and throws 6 shutout innings so you can trade him, because that's what I would do right now.
He gets the White Sox, so there's a chance that he could do that on 28 pitches. Mm-hmm. After that, he has a 2-step Yankees-Dodgers.
Yeah, I will be selling the hell out of him after this start, no matter what. If I'm
especially if he goes 6, people will be like, "Oh, he's back. Sell him."
I would also buy low on him after those starts in a dynasty or keeper format.
For sure. If he goes and gets killed in the 2-step or throws 5 total innings, and people are get him in long-term leagues, because I still think starting,
because I think he's going to be a stud next year, and I think they're going to let the reins off of him next year.
I agree.
So I think this is a perfect, this is the fun part of fantasy baseball, is it really depends on your format. And when I do my chats, in my chats, I pin at the top, make sure you tell me league size and format, because it changes dramatically.
How do you pin something? That's a great idea. Because I get so many questions without context.
So on the chat bar on Jotcast, there's a little pin button.
Okay, I'm gonna look for that because that's a great
I
idea.
pinned don't repeat questions and include league size and formats and points awarded for making me laugh. So
I like that. I might steal that directly and say credit Justin.
Joe,
go ahead.
Go ahead, third Joe.
Joe, where do you think you're going to move him down to? Because I actually just moved. I'm not comfortable with 57. I think he's too talented for that for Drew Rasmussen. Let's take the Rays at face value right now. They said he's back in the rotation, like Justin said. That could be one start, but they said he's back to normal starting and that he's not going to be doing this. So for now, that's what he's doing, at least for this next turn. I moved him up to 43, which again, if he's starting all the time, that's still 20 ranks too low. But where do you think you're going to move him to?
Move him below Baron Woodruff.
Right below him instead of right above him?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do that. I love B. Woody.
I think I'd move him down to God, the Rays are impossible, but probably like the mid-30s, like into the Ranger Suarez, Seth Lugo range for me, probably. Maybe just below them.
And I can see that. I can totally get behind that. That puts him like above Yuri and Chase Burns, who have their own concerns. He's just really tough to rank right now. For
as I say that, it feels a little bit too high. Like I think where you have him, like maybe he's like right on 40, something like that for me in that. But he's like the Rays, like Justin alluded to earlier. It could be one start of 5 innings, and then they go back to 1 or 2. So
and then they could be like, we said that he was only going to be back in the rotation for this next start. Some bullshit like that where they parse their words all perfectly. So yeah, he's really tough right now. I think you just got to kind of hold on. Now, actually, in the one situation, in like a 10-team league, would you guys maybe consider cutting him after the White Sox start for the Yankees-Dodgers 2-step? Okay, too scary to cut, right?
I think I'm holding and not starting. I want to see, but I think I could cut him after that too.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's too aggressive to cut before, because if he is back to 5 innings plus starts, then Rasmussen is a
stud. 91 innings. If that means he's got less than 60 innings left in the season.
Oh, damn, that's a good point. I didn't even really think about that.
If they're truly believing that he is a 150 inning guy this year, that means he's got 50 innings.
Let's just call it 12 starts. That's an easy, because they're 5 and 9 with him. That's 12 starts. So that's 1 next week, 2 the week after, number 4 would be after that,
and that's best. So that's case scenario. Left. You get 12 full starts, and instead of
a bunch of split up starts. This is a nightmare, dude.
Yeah, but how many innings are most pitchers going to get the rest of the way anyway in 12 starts? Like it's maybe going to be 60, like 70. Maybe it's a little bit
Here's the thing,
you know what I'm
Joe.
saying?
Guys that we want to rank him near are going to get the 70, 75, right? Because on true talent, Rasmussen is a top 25 guy like you had him. That's the tough part, though. And that's why I think we're right to have him here in the 30s, 40s.
Well, would you rather have?
And they could spend the entire last month with him as like a middle reliever. Like, I mean,
they could.
Yeah. Like that's the tough part is how they spread it out. Where
like if you're in a head-to-head playoff situation and he gets moved into a 1 or 2 inning role in the middle of August,
he's a drop.
Yeah. Like
unless you have specific RP slots, that might actually not be the worst.
Maybe.
But anyway, I don't mean to like point out the 1% rule. Who were you going to compare him to, Joe? You said, would you rather have?
Well, could you let's say it's 60 innings exactly for Rasmussen, and then for every other comp, we could say it's like 75 or 80. Would you rather have 60 Rasmussen innings or 75 Reese Olson innings?
Reese, because the wins.
Yep,
the wins on Tigers.
Yeah, don't pick Tigers obviously against me.
Or Will Warren. Would you rather have him, or you get an extra 20-25%, but it's Will Warren as opposed to Rasmussen?
That's a really good question, but I think I lean Warren because of Yankees and the wins.
Yeah, I've got Warren 2 spots below him now after the Rasmussen move up, but I don't. That's really, really close for me. Here's the thing, and I can't answer it right now because, again, if they're not giving him real starts, and it has to be at least 5 innings unless he gets an opener, I'm going to take everyone you're going to say. Will Warren, Reese Olson, Rogers, Brandon Woodruff. Probably you say Kikuchi, yeah. Like
Osman.
If we cannot consistently get win potential.
I think he should be 55 right below.
Right with those guys?
Yeah.
I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to see how this White Sox thing goes and what they do for the big 2-step. If he gets 8 total innings against the Dodgers and Yankees, I'm moving him to 65. I'm moving him even lower than you say at that point. So anyway, I know we have to go. Joe's got to get going. I want to ask one thing. I put a name on here myself. I put my name next to Shane Smith, and I have to ask you guys a question. How good are you guys at cutting bait on somebody that you hit on, but that they're turning back into the pumpkin? Because I think I held Shane Smith too long. I finally cut him this week. I took too many of the beat downs, too busy patting myself on the back for getting a good call that I held on too long. How do you manage that? Are you good at cutting bait on these late round picks or these waiver pickups that are really, they're only going to be good for a finite amount of time? Or do you also hold too long? Start with you, Justin, and then Joe, you can finish us off.
I mean, I play in deeper leagues, so I end up holding on to
it's easier to do it there, right? Because that's where I did it. It was 15 teamers.
I couldn't cut, like, I've got Shane Smith in a number 15 team leagues. I couldn't cut him there. There's just nothing left on the wire to cut him for. Like, it's just
there was this week. I cut him.
Yeah, I wouldn't, but yeah.
Joe, where are you at on that?
Yeah.
With your gems that you're like, you see that they're kind of evaporating in front of your face. Do you hold through, or are you good about kind of being a little bit more brutal with them and cutting them?
No, I tend to hold a week or two too long and then take on some of the damage. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm still learning a lot as a fantasy player, as stupid as that might sound.
No, it's not stupid at all. First off, you should always, like, that's actually great. I go the other way with that. That's great.
I haven't learned things for a decade.
I was literally just about to say Justin ain't learned shit in 10 years. That's so funny that we said it verbatim. But yeah, you should always still be learning. And I hope I am. And I'm trying to get better at things like that, because I do think that that's a skill, but there's no right answer, right? He could have easily just kept going and been good. And what if you cut before Shane Smith fell apart and he put up a 320 for the whole year? Then you'd feel dumb. So there's no perfect answer, but I did kind of see it happening in front of my face. His skills were evaporating. He has no win opportunity. And I just held a little too long. Now, because I curated his starts, I didn't get all the damage. I got a 4.12 ERA and a 1.28 whip, which is fine for a last round pick. But I don't know. It's just something that's really difficult for me, is to when to know to jump off that. But I know you got to get going, Joe. Thanks for joining us. Great talking pitchers with y'all. Thank you guys for grilling me, but not too tough. Justin and I will be back with two-step, and then schedule's back for the second half. We'll be back on, 3 times a week. A lot of Sunday episodes the rest of the way as well. Gentlemen, have a good rest of your break, and we'll talk next week.
Take it easy, guys.